Congressman Lieu, I just want to note for the audience that the FBI and the Justice Department have had no comment tonight on the challenge issued to them by Congressman Gaetz. What is your reaction to Congressman Gaetz' defense so far?
Thank you, Lawrence, for your question. During that entire bizarre interview, Congressman Matt Gaetz does not deny the existence of a federal investigation against him that is looking at whether or not he had sexual relations with a 17-year-old girl and that she traveled across state lines and was induced by him to do so with payments or hotel stays and so on. That by itself is a very serious charge. And if it's true, if he in fact had sexual relations with an underage minor, I know that Florida law also makes it a felony to do so. So Matt Gaetz is facing very serious charges right now, and his defense is bizarre and it doesn't shield him from these investigations.
The defense, if we can call it that, I don't know if we can call it that, because I think you've pointed out quite clearly what I was seeing and what he was saying is I didn't ever hear in anything he has said today the specific denial of such a relationship. In fact, he brought up to Tucker Carlson that he was out to dinner with Tucker Carlson a couple of years ago with another girlfriend. Let's listen to that. Or I guess we don't.
Actually, you and I went to dinner about 2 years ago. Your wife was there, and I brought a friend of mine. You'll remember her. And she was actually threatened by the FBI, told that if she wouldn't cop to the fact that somehow I was involved in some pay-for-play scheme, that she could face trouble.
And there's going to be some trouble corroborating that because Tucker Carlson then said he had no memory of that dinner or meeting that person. But the tail just gets wider and wider as Matt Gaetz talks about it.
Basically, what Matt Gaetz just did is he made Tucker Carlson a witness to this investigation now. I also know that Matt Gaetz has in the past spun wild tales about a variety of different subjects. So it's not surprising that he would spin this wild tale. But again, the fact that someone, even if it's true in March, tried to extort him or his family to allegedly make this case go away doesn't change the fact that there is a case. There is a very serious federal investigation open under the Trump administration. And I'm a former prosecutor. They don't just do this out of nothing. There's got to be a factual predicate. And at the Department of Justice, there's going to be a whole team of federal agents and prosecutors investigating Matt Gaetz. So he's in some deep trouble, and that's why he needs to be removed from the House Judiciary Committee.
Yeah, he's saying that the extortion plot started just a few weeks ago on March 16th, and it was started by someone who no longer works in the Justice Department, but was an assistant U.S. attorney in Florida under the Trump administration. That person no longer working in an investigation that's currently going on would, of course, have absolutely no power or influence over that investigation. Matt Gaetz said that this person has said that that Joe Biden would pardon Matt Gaetz. That was part of what he threw in to his discussion with Tucker Carlson tonight.
Their tales that Matt Gaetz spins get crazier and crazier. There is no evidence that a former Department of Justice official somehow would have any linkage to the president or why the president would even conceivably pardon Matt Gaetz. And right now we have the situation in Congress where you have a sitting member of Congress, Matt Gaetz, on the House Judiciary Committee that has oversight over the very department that's investigating him. That's an untenable situation. And Matt Gaetz either should leave the Judiciary Committee voluntarily or he should be removed until the investigation is completed.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.